Well, I'm starting to make a beer mug or two beer mugs for my niece, and I'm cutting staves to make a long section of bloodwood that I will then use to slice up. So I've got this parallel piece of bloodwood, and I'm cutting the staves just using a stop block because the blade is pushing the board into the stop block. I need 8 of them. I've got 3. I'll show a cut. So I made one cylinder out of bloodwood. I put it together dry just to check the joints, and they all look good. I made one out of maple and one out of bloodwood. I'm going to glue these together and then I'm going to slice them up tomorrow. So I'm working on these beer mugs and I'm going to do some angled rings. I'm going to cut it at 7 to 7.5 degrees, and I'm going to glue these blocks to this. The lines will be out, and they're going to represent the thickest and the thinnest part of each ring, just to help me line it up when it's to the next step. So I've got these wood blocks just to give me something to clamp to, um, especially when I get down into cutting the last few rings. So I'm going to try super gluing them on. So I have this stop block set to give me maybe 1/4 of an inch on that side and maybe 3/4 of an inch on this side. There's no way I'm going to know until I make a cut. I've got the line out here. I've got this board here that I can either hold on to or clamp. Since I'm going to be drum sanding, I think I'm just going to hand hold. The blade is pushing the wood in towards the stop block. So I'll show the first cut. So I'm going to have to make one cut at the 7.5 degree angle, move it into 0 to trim, and that'll give me another one at that same angle, and then switch back to the angle again. So I'll show a cut. So I have moved the miter saw to 0, and I am going to have to move the stop block each time. Which isn't surprising, but I think I've got it set for the right thing. I will measure after I cut the next ring. That looks pretty close. I wanted 1/4 inch on this end. So I'm going to mark that spot. Since I am having to do a little more setup every cut than I anticipated, I'm going to cut a ring off the bloodwood and then a ring off the maple and keep alternating. Well, I have all the rings cut with an extra one or two. The cuts are actually pretty good, but I am going to disc sand the flat edge, and then I'm going to run them through the drum sander to get the other one. So I'm just going to do the 90-degree side on the disc sander. I'll show one or two. So after flattening the rings on the disc sander on the one side, I put the good side down. I've got this strip of purple heart on the back that's about a 1/2 inch thick, which is what I'm going for. I want one side to be a 1/2 inch less than the other. So I'm going to run them through the drum sander to get this side flat and consistent across all the rings. I'll show a few passes. I have 2 of the drum sanded rings here. I am going to line up the lines on these, the skinny side to the fat side. And that should make a ring that's parallels that I can glue together on the beer mug. Gluing them together with Type Bond 3, which is a waterproof glue. So today I made up the feature ring for the beer mug, and the joints are absolutely perfect for both mugs. And I made up the top ring for both, and then two of these rings will become the accent rings on either side of this. I will split it after I get it glued together. I'll show that on the video. So I'm going to glue these together. I don't necessarily think I need to show another glue up. So for the beer mugs, I have all of the slanted rings put together for the two beer mugs, and they're a little thick and not quite parallel. So I'm going to run them through the drum sander to thin them out a little bit and get them flatter. I'll show a couple passes. I've got a little bit of background noise, but I am going to try to split two walnut rings to get thinner rings for the beer mug. I have one already mounted in here. Don't know if you can see it. I've got the saw blade cut to set for the middle and enough to get a little bit more than half the ring. I'm going to make two passes to split this ring, and then two passes to split the next one. So it's time to start gluing up the first beer mug. This will be the bottom of the mug. I flattened this faceplate, checked the fit, so it's ready to glue up. I have almost half of a beer mug assembled, and before I go any further, I'm going to turn down to here. I'm going to turn to the inside. I'm targeting 3 inches inside. I'm going to turn the outside to be round, and then I'm going to work the inside to be a 3-inch diameter and be pretty well finished. At this stage, I've got about 2.9 inches of internal diameter, and it's pretty straight wall inside. The transition on the bottom looks good. So I'm going to call that done and switch to sanding on the inside. Yesterday I got these two rings on. I was thinking about turning a little bit of this out just to make it a little bit thinner, but I think it's going to be okay. So I'm going to turn on these today. I won't show it on the video, and then I'm going to glue on the rest of the rings. That'll be the complete mug other than the handle. The turning is complete, and I still need to sand and then laser engrave on this and then put a handle on it. But it's coming along. I have this pair of beer mugs ready to laser etch. I'm going to laser etch on this ring here. I'm going to show I'm going to show how I have the CNC set up. So I have this removable panel here. I have these kerf keepers, if you will, to hold it steady so I can CNC on the top of it, although I don't usually. So I'll put those aside. And underneath I have my rotary axis. I'm going to screw one of these on. I keep them on the faceplate for this purpose, and I'll cut it off after I laser etch. My CNC table is close to level, and I'm going to try to make sure this is about the same. It needs to come up a little bit on the front. That's about right. Well, I think I have it zeroed where I want it. All right, so one done. I have the beer handles that I cut out on the CNC stuck down with double-sided tape. I've got a couple pieces of outboard support so the router doesn't tip over on me. So that's the first edge, and I'm going to do the other 5. And obviously some sanding will still need to be done, but that will make it very, very much less sanding. So I have a handle almost ready to mount. Um, the last step is to get this rounder so that it fits onto the mug better. Right now this is a flat surface and it needs to be rounder. So the way to do that is you take a piece of sandpaper, wrap it around the mug, and sand like this till it fits. So I am going to try to glue the handles on both of these beer mugs. This is the clamping method I'm going to use. So on the beer mugs, I need some dowels, and I'm going to try to make some out of the scraps from the same wood I used to make the handle. So as I was turning, I changed my mind and went with a 1/4 inch dowel. So this one's a 1/4 inch all but the very ends. I am ready to drill some holes for the dowels to go in. I'm going to put a pin in both of them. The bottom one I'm going to angle a little bit. This one I pretty well have to go with what I've got. I did put an indent with an awl for the drill to start. But I am just going to hold that drill bit in there and try to make sure I got the angle right and then drill away. And I'm drilling all the way through. The next step, which is actually easier, is gluing in the dowels. So the glue is cured overnight, and I'm going to cut the excess off with a coping saw. Okay, I've got the 2 beer mugs ready to apply epoxy using Max CLR epoxy. And I'm going to try to apply epoxy just to this top band and then the inside. So I did sand the first coat of epoxy and it had some bumps in it, which I've removed. But I'm going to do this a little different for coat number 2. I remember what my beer mug consultant Leroy told me is he actually mixes up more than he needs, pours it in, and then swirls the mug around to coat every square inch. Okay, so the inside is completely coated. I am going to try to take some of this excess and lightly coat the outside.